Welcome to Scramble Game Show. Today we have a guest. As you know, this is the election season, so our guests tend to be all running for offices. And today we have the honor to have our county executive, Rob Astorino. Let's welcome Rob. We'll have about an hour chat about what he's doing, what's the future for our county. Rob.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for coming to our show.
Thank you.
And of course, you haven't been. I have been to our show many, many times, so you probably familiar with our program. So I don't have to repeat that part. It started out with a game show, but we interview people. And in your case, of course, you've been talking to many people. We will probably go with a different angle, asking different questions. But before that, most importantly, of course, for election, I do want to hear your main points. What do you sort of have accomplished in the past term, and what's in the future? I know in your website you have 3 major bullets. One, of course, is look out for taxes.
Right.
And the second is, of course, look out for county services, and that's important. And you have that as sort of a challenging balance. And the thirdly is, what's the future growth in the county? So on these 3 points, maybe we start talking about that, then we can go elsewhere.
Sure. No, first of all, I appreciate the time. I do. It's nice to see you again. It's nice to be able to talk to your audience and let them know what we're doing and what we have been doing.
Right.
It's been a very busy 4 years. It's hard for me to imagine that 4 years are done.
Goes by so
boom,
fast.
Done.
Yeah.
So I'm proud of what we've done. We're not finished with it yet, and that's why I'm asking the voters for a second term.
Yes.
The challenges have been many, though. It's been a very difficult 4 years, as most people themselves know, because the challenge economically has been very difficult. But I think we're coming through it. I see some much better days ahead. I think we're in a much better position today than we were 4 years ago in this county. And you mentioned about the bullet points. I think what we've tried to do internally with our own staff and commissioners is to have some guidelines here, some posts that they can see, what to do. And we call them the 3 Ps. Protecting taxpayers, promoting economic growth, and preserving essential services.
3 Ps.
Now I'll add a 4th P a little later on. That's playland.
I'm going to add 5th one later on. I want to ask your personal life. How did you manage to be successful? Okay, 5 Ps.
We're turning this into a different game show. So let me talk about the first 3 Ps, and I'm very proud of them because it's hard work to preserve essential services at the same time where we're holding the line on taxes, and we've done that. The 5 years before I got into office, if it was really, I would say, unfair to taxpayers. County taxes had gone up 17%, spending had gone up over 20%, and someone's got to pay for that. So property taxpayers are paying for that. And we were in the worst crisis in this country in a very long time. The housing market tanked. You had people losing their jobs or being cut back, and yet government, county government, was asking more and more.
Right, yes.
And people couldn't do it. So we said, we're holding the line. First of all, that's why I ran anyway.
Right.
But in the 3 years and the 3 budgets that we've put in so far, we have cut the property tax levy by 2%. Now I know that doesn't sound like a lot, 2%.
But that's before people talking about 2% cap.
That's right. That's exactly right. We cut. We we didn't increase it 2% or 3% to stay in the cap. We actually reduced the tax levy, and I think that was the right thing to do. People need relief. I've already said when my budget comes out in mid-November, for the 4th straight year, we are not going to have any tax increases, and I think that's what people expect. They expect government to manage their money the right way. Unfortunately, in this country, we're not getting that. In the state, we haven't gotten that. And in the county, we're getting it now because we're really taking very seriously other people's money. So we have reduced the tax levy by 2%. And again, it's not earth-shattering, but we're going in the right direction. we're balancing out what we can afford with the needs of this county. And we have plenty of needs. There are a lot of people that have fallen on hard times. I feel very strongly that leaders, and people should expect this of their leaders, by the way, should be able to efficiently and effectively manage a budget. But also be very compassionate.
Right. This is just, we talk about American dream, now the Chinese talk about Chinese dream. Everybody should have a dream. I think we should have a Westchester dream, that people, be able to live here and not be forced out of the county.
That's exactly right. And, I love this county. And I think anyone who lives in Westchester or has lived in Westchester would say the same thing. This is a beautiful place. It's just natural beauty, especially in northern Westchester. It's just stunning. You've got the best parks system in the country. It's an accredited park system, one of the best, really, literally, in the country. We have natural beauty. We have trails and the Hudson River and the Long Island Sound and reservoirs and just stunning beauty. But we also have people in need. As wonderful as it is, we have needs. So on one hand, we've made sure that we've reduced the size of county government. When we came into office, there were 5,700 employees. We're down to 4,800. And we've done that in a very reasonable way, about 500, 15%. And the majority of that was done through a buyout, where people were able to end their career in an option. And a retirement package was given, and a lot of people took that. And I think that was a great way to do that. We've successfully negotiated groundbreaking contracts with our unions. The Teamsters Union was the first to do it. The Corrections Officer, which is a very big union, PBA. We've negotiated with them fair contracts that helped out taxpayers, but also gave them a fair contract. For the first time ever, county employees are starting to pay for their own health insurance, just like you and I, just like everybody else. And that's fair. Our biggest union, unfortunately, has said no, the CSEA, that they're not willing to do that at this point. And so, we've negotiated for 4 years. I begged and pleaded for them because I didn't want to have to lay off people. That's the last thing you want to do. That disrupts services. It disrupts lives. That's not what we want to do.
But eventually, I think people will realize that sharing is fair, though.
We have to do that. They like to say their fair share. Well, they need to do their fair share as well for the taxpayers. Most taxpayers, most people in the private sector, even many governments, the federal government, state workers, a lot of municipal employees, they've been paying for their health insurance, a portion of it, for a long time. And I don't think it's right that some county employees are paying nothing. And so I have drawn the line that I'm not signing any contracts with any of our unions that does not begin to pay for their own health insurance. So 5 of our 8 are done. They are paying, current employees. New employees are paying a higher rate, and for the first time ever, and this is important long term too, new employees will start paying for their health insurance and in retirement. And that's important. And so I think those are good news stories that really looks now and in the future to get our long-term costs in line. But I think the tax situation is one that we're always monitoring, and I'm not willing to raise taxes.
So in your managing the tax this way, the so-called 2% cap is not an issue to you.
It's not an issue for me, but at some point down the line, it's going to be an issue for everybody. I think tax increases should be the last option. Unfortunately, for too many, it's the first option. It's what do we need because we want to do things, and let's just tax people to get it. We come from it from a different angle. What is it that we must do as a government? And then there are other things that we'd like to do, but do we really need to do them, or should government really be doing them? And if not, let's not. And that brings down the costs because you need less.
That's a very good philosophy, but of course politically some people feel that's not sort of to the politicians' advantage, because people don't like it.
Well, that's true. We've had to say no.
If you look at, say, school system or other municipality, they still manage with the 2% thing. Is they always look at what's maximum we can get.
Exactly.
Rather than the philosophy, as you say.
That's right. What do we need as opposed to what? And you've been on the school board, now you're in your 7th year. You know how difficult it is. with exploding pensions,
Yeah.
with, in our case, we have Medicaid.
Double digit, yeah.
Double digit. Just to give people an idea, in 2001, 2001, not long ago, the total bill for Westchester County government for Medicaid, for pensions, was $3.3 million. Last year it was $85 million. This year it's $91 million.
Yeah.
This is insane. And that has to be paid. It's a bill we get from New York State. They'll just take it out of our money, take it out of our account.
Right.
So we have no say on that. Healthcare costs.
Yeah,
Obviously,
same
we're
thing,
paying $130 million a year for healthcare for county government employees and retirees. These are costs, along with payroll, of course, and other contractual issues, that come first. And it crowds out almost everything else. Medicaid. New York State, thank you so much, is the only state, second state, to force counties to pay their bill, part of their bill, the state bill, in the partnership with the federal government for Medicaid. Now, Medicaid itself is an important program. It provides health care for the disabled and the poor. But in New York State, and listen to this.
Mandates add on.
It's not just that, but you can't tell me the system is not broken. Right now, 1 out of every 4 people in New York is on Medicaid. It will soon be 1 out of every 3. But listen to this. The total amount of money that New York State spends on Medicaid, over $60 billion, is more than Pennsylvania, Florida, and Texas combined. So nobody can tell me the system is not wasteful, it's not out of control.
It's just not sustainable. That's
it's not sustainable,
problem,
and it's driving people out of the state, it's driving businesses away, and so the imbalance becomes greater because there are less people that have to foot the bill for those in need or the things that politicians want to do. So
in this aspect, does the county interact with the state in some way to help the situation?
Well, unfortunately, under the state laws, we have no say on Medicaid. We unfortunately are a branch of the state, and so they send us a bill and eligibility requirements are expanded, so more and more people take advantage of it. And as such, we keep getting bigger and bigger bills. 40 cents of every dollar that comes in for property tax in the county goes right to Medicaid, right up the throughway. And you know, when you add it all in, just 9 mandates alone, just 9, Medicaid, pensions, and some others, add up to over 80 cents of every dollar. So at the end of the day, there's very little left on a local level for the things that matter to us most, that we don't necessarily have to do, but we want to, like our park system. We love, and people move here for their park system, North County Trailway. You know, you name it, Ward Pound Ridge, Muscoot Farm, which I love. Muscoot is where my wife and I take our kids all the time. The Kensico Dam, and you can go on and on and on. These are things that we like to do. Some veteran services, senior services, again, things that we don't necessarily have to do, but we want to. And we've got to hold the line. Otherwise, again, you're going to have 5 and 10% tax increases every year.
Yeah, well, I think that's why I say we don't know how you manage. It's a very tough situation, and
it's a balance. You have to say no. I mean, everyone comes in the door with a great idea. Unfortunately, every idea costs money, and we don't have it, and we've got to balance that out between what we can afford, what the people can afford, and what we absolutely have to do.
Well, does the state or county do any study regarding the Obamacare that is changing the medical sort of situation?
I don't think it's going to directly hit Westchester County government. It'll have a little effect, but for the most part, the contracts are already done. That won't change the health care for our employees. But there might be some as we move forward. Because I know
private industries already start reacting to it. I mean, people changing, pushing the retirees onto some other plans.
That's right, into the healthcare exchange. Well, look at IBM. IBM basically told all its retirees, goodbye, you're going on to the exchange. You know, obviously there is something wrong with this law when the president himself is now delaying, when the unions who pushed it through are saying, we don't want anything to do with it anymore, give us a waiver.
So this is sort of hooked on there without, you know, really a next step to take.
But that's, you know, those are federal issues. On the local level, we're doing all that we can to contain costs.
Well, let's come back to our county, the essential services. I know when you are reducing budget, certainly we're going to affect some, you know, county services. Are we absolutely okay in the sense that our services are intact?
Yes. In fact, we've looked at ways to consolidate. We've done that within, where we consolidated the Department of Public Works and Transportation, so we have one commissioner or one deputy overseeing this. We have reduced the workforce, and as such, we're also reducing some of the buildings and the building space that we need, which saves on energy and costs.
So the reduction is all on the sort of overhead area. That's
correct, and it's not just short term, but it's long term recurring savings that mean a lot. I think some of the things that we've done in public safety have been important, where the town of Ossining saw its legacy costs growing and ballooning and overtime, where they have a 16-member police force, and they basically said, we can't afford this anymore.
Right, so they merged.
And so they asked the county, could we have a contract with the county? The county would patrol the town of Ossining, which we're doing, and they would pay for that service. They would pay for every police officer that is patrolling. Now that saves the county, it saves the town, and that was real money, by the way. They saved $1 million in their budget. That's not something to laugh at. That's a lot of money.
Is Ossining the only
Ossining
city?
is, and the town of Cortland has a similar agreement. I can tell you we've been approached by other municipalities at looking at some consolidation and shared services, and we're going to continue to do that. I think very strongly that makes sense.
That makes sense, because many of
but it has to be organic.
Yeah.
It has to come from the community as a request, not the county marching in and saying, we want to take over your police department. We want to. No, it's got to come from the community to say, are there ways we could work together? Do you mind if we study whether the county can take on this service? Those are things that we should be looking at across the board.
Yeah, I know the school also come to the county for the resources
School resource officer, that's right.
That certainly is also a...
That was part of our Safer Communities initiative following the tragedy in Newtown, Connecticut, where we wanted to, in a very deliberative way, see if there was something that we as a county could do to make our schools safer, the campus safer, our community safer.
Yeah.
And we didn't want to just run out and have a headline and not do anything. We wanted to see if we can make a difference, if at all. Maybe we couldn't.
I mean, truly from a service point of view, you need it, we provide.
Yeah, but with the Safer Communities initiative, what we wanted to do was really comprehensively look at some of the root causes of some of this violence. And what we found was, the mental health aspect clearly is a very big issue. And so for the first time last February, we had at SUNY Purchase every law enforcement agency in Westchester, including the federal government with the FBI and Homeland Security and ATF. They were there as well. We had every school district represented, public, private, and parochial, in this one room, in this one conference. And what we did was we got everyone to talk together, because, God forbid there's an incident at Somers High School. It's not going to be just the Somers Police Department responding. It's going to be the county, the state, local mutual aid coming in with very scary equipment and machines and helicopters and tanks. It's going to be a huge scenario. And we want to make sure that everyone is prepared. What are the best practices? God forbid something like that happens. Can it be prevented? And we said to some school districts, if there's a way that the county can help, we're here. And so the Somers School District and the North Salem School District. Yeah, that's
always the issue, whether the coordination responsibility lies with NSA or locally, or how local. That is a very major problem.
Well, the local policy would be done by the Somers School District. And the school district said, we would like a police officer, we would like a school resource officer. And so we worked out an agreement with Somers to provide 2 school resource officers. They're county police officers. They'll be assigned for 9 months out of the year. The payment will come from the Somers School District as a reimbursement to the county. And we did the same in North Salem. They requested it. So this is how shared services and partnerships work. The other thing we did as part of our Safer Communities initiative was in April to have the mental health community, along with law enforcement and schools, to have the clergy and nonprofits all together. And those are more difficult discussions, because the mental health aspect with students especially, you've got laws to protect their privacy, obviously,
Yes.
and we want to protect that. But you also have mental health issues that tend to be swept underneath the rug.
Right.
But as we look back at Columbine
Oh, yeah.
and Virginia Tech and the Sikh Temple and all these were breakdowns in the
aimless
system.
shooting is usually related to
That's
that.
right. Was a breakdown in the system. This was obviously those with mental health issues who never should have had access to a gun. And those are the discussions that have to happen and that are happening now. So hopefully we can prevent something like that.
Yeah, that's great. Well, let's hit on your third bullet that this business prospect or jobs creation, helping the county economy. That certainly was very challenging in the last few years because the whole country is in trouble. So.
Sure. Well, you know what? It was a little bit of defense and a little bit of offense, and I'll explain the defense. In Somers, obviously, you have PepsiCo,
right?
A huge employer.
They want to move out.
Well, Pepsi was ready to move to Texas
right.
because the regulations, the tax climate, the state of Texas was wooing them and other businesses. And quite frankly, before we got into office, Starwood left and others were leaving. One of the things that I said is we're going to go out, me personally, and I'm going to meet with the senior executives at PepsiCo and Atlas Air, which is where the old Texaco headquarters was, a huge global freight company, and many others, and introduce myself, tell them that we love the fact that their world headquarters or their business is in Westchester. We did this with IBM, MasterCard, Heineken USA, Dannon, you name it.
Right.
And what can we do? How do we help? We want to have a partnership here. We want jobs to grow. We want people.
So skin in the game.
That's right. And so through those positive developments, we worked out some good incentives for PepsiCo to stay in Purchase and in Somers. And as a result, over 1,000 jobs were saved. New jobs are going to be created. PepsiCo, in their world headquarters in Purchase, they're knocking down their campus buildings and they're rebuilding. It's a $250 million project, one of the biggest construction projects in Westchester history. And so that's going to provide a lot of temporary jobs in the trades as well as permanent jobs. Regeneron and the biotech industry is flourishing here in this county because they're clustered, and we've gone out proactively to get them to come to the county, to give them incentives. These are high-tech, high-skilled jobs. This is cutting edge.
They're located at Route 9A area, right?
The 9A corridor, right, in Mount Pleasant and Greenberg and Yonkers. And we want to foster that environment where biotech becomes bigger and bigger. We've got 60 acres on the Grasslands Reservation that is undeveloped. And we are going out and working with the medical college, working with the medical center, and a developer to actually develop that piece of property to taxable income. We're going to have a biotech village there, new jobs, some retail. That'll help the town of Mount Pleasant, but it'll also help all of the county. And again, these are good jobs, good paying jobs.
Right. These are part of your defensive or offensive?
That's offense.
Offense.
The defense was keeping some of the companies from leaving.
Right.
The offense is helping create the situations where the private sector wants to actually invest. And we've had 27,000 new jobs created in the last 4 years in this county. Now, look, I didn't have a hand in all of those at all, but that means that things are getting better, that private entrepreneurs, private industry is seeing better things for this county. They're investing. We've had over $250 million, $500 million invested in this county in private sector capital. So it's starting to hum now. It's starting to be appreciated what this county is. Of course, you know, they're getting over some of the high taxes, but with it, they're going to be creating some jobs.
Yeah, there certainly is double benefit there.
Yeah, and the county, we can say that through our industrial development agency, through our local development corporation, which is for nonprofits, the county can give at no risk to taxpayers tax-exempt bonds, low interest, for nonprofits and for our for-profit companies as well. This now gives them capital to expand, physically, buildings, to create new jobs. Phelps Memorial Hospital, Northern Westchester Hospital, White Plains Hospital just announced they're going to do a $108 million renovation and expansion and create 500 new jobs. And this is because the county got directly involved in giving them these kind of incentives. So when I say we can be proactive and be on offense, those are the kind of tools that we have in the toolkit. When we play defense, it's going out to the PepsiCos and to the IBMs and the others and saying, don't leave. How can we help you stay?
Right. Yeah, and certainly it's a sort of a skill to pick what industry to have these offense. I know healthcare certainly is one.
Yeah, healthcare system is huge.
You look at some of the smaller country like Singapore.
Yeah.
They have focused on healthcare as an industry taking offense. They are now surfacing this healthcare to the neighbor countries.
Right.
They're a little city country, but a lot of people go to Singapore for the medical services. So
that's right.
Same thing that at Westchester, we are now known to be good in providing medical services.
That's right.
So I think that should attract people coming in.
And the third thing that we were talking about, the third P, is preserving essential services.
Right.
And it benefits everybody when we have a strong safety net for those in need, and there's plenty of people in this county with needs.
Right.
This is it's a very affluent county, but it's also we have pockets of poverty. We have a lot of middle class people who are just barely holding on, with a job that might be tenuous, or people living paycheck to paycheck. And so we want to make sure that the county can provide short term for those who need. Obviously, there's those with long-term needs. Our office for the disabled is there for paratransit. We have an office for seniors. We have an office for Veterans Affairs. If there are veterans out there who are not getting the benefits that you're entitled to for serving our country, you should speak to us, because we can help you with some of those things.
Well, this is great, because I also saw one of the pieces on your website that your office is the most accessible office, all right? And
well, we certainly try to be.
Right, and this interview speaks to that, and you certainly have been, in welcoming me to interview you, and that's
well. It's an important part of this job. I want people to realize that I work for them. That I might be the face of county government, but we have a lot of good employees that work for the public.
Oh yes.
People should know that they can email me. CEO or CE at westchestergov.com, and you will get a response in a short period of time. You can call us at 995-2910. I'd ask that you follow me on Facebook or Twitter. That's another way we can get information out. When Hurricane Sandy hit, northern Westchester was pulverized, and it was paralyzed. And with cable out, people weren't able to get a lot of information. But one of the ways that we found, and I visited every community, I don't know how many times, to visit shelters, to emergency operations centers, to neighborhoods in Somers at Heritage Hills, where I met with a lot of the residents. And the idea was to become there with them, to understand that we know what's going on, and we're going to facilitate help with Con Ed or with NYSEG. But what I found was that the best way to get information out was through Twitter and Facebook. That's how people were getting their info, because they have their smartphones and they'd find a place to charge them up.
They can see it,
And that was how it was getting done, because they couldn't watch cable because it was out.
Yeah, I was out 8 days electricity, and
we were
I had to
out
go
too.
to school with a computer, so I would be able to at least know what's going on.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. But preserving essential services, I want to debunk one myth that got a lot of attention, but it was completely erroneous, and that was for the subsidized daycare for our working poor. We spend over $30 million a year on daycare subsidies for childcare, for working poor and for those below the poverty level. By the way, about $5 million of that we do not have to do. We are not required by the federal or state government, but that's something that we have made a commitment to do, to go over and above what's expected of us.
So that's still current budget?
Yes, it is. Now, it is fair to say that this program was going bankrupt. We were underfunded by the Board of Legislators. Costs were going through the roof, and we were about $3 million underfunded, $3 million in the hole. Now, we could have said, that's it. When we run out of money, nobody gets a subsidy. We didn't want to do that. We didn't want to hurt people. So what we did was, we thought it was a very good compromise, and in a very bipartisan way with members of the legislature, Democrats and Republicans. We felt, and we all worked together, that we would raise the parent share for those parents who were taking advantage of this program and getting very good quality child care at a very heavy subsidy from the taxpayers, that we thought we could ask them for $1 or $2 more a day. That would make the program solvent.
Right.
And that would be fair for everybody. And as such, it then expanded the program and allowed us to add 593 new slots, more families. 593 more families could take advantage of this if everyone paid $1 more.
Yeah.
Now, you would not believe what some people were saying. We were slashing daycare, throwing people in the streets. You know, that's the one part about politics I can't stand, is when people outright lie.
Fortunately, right now it seems to me that the bipartisanship is
absolutely.
and
you know what?
On board together, right?
We've passed the last 2 budgets with bipartisan support and compromise. There were things in the budget that I proposed that didn't happen, that they proposed that didn't happen. That's where we worked together. We sat down and we got things done. You know, my job as an executive is to get things done.
Right,
We've got to move things. Just to sit there and philosophize, or to you know, to have discussions forever, that doesn't do anything. We have to move things along.
And I can see that you truly have a bipartisan support. I mean, many people come forward even on your campaign website to say that, right?
We've got a lot of Democratic support. I'm very proud of that. You know, I would never have been elected in 2009 if we didn't have a lot of Democrats support me. And I'm proud that a lot of Democrats are supporting me now. I mean, I have, you know, somewhat unusual, I would say, for a Republican, but it doesn't mean that it shouldn't be happening all over the place, because you know, I don't like the rap in some ways that Republicans get.
Yeah, I always feel that our democratic system in the ballot design is flawed, in the sense not encouraging people to elect the candidate they like, rather
as
have
opposed
these
to labels,
lines and lines. Because after all, when you are elected, you represent everybody. So why should you have a blue, red, or green, or purple, right? That doesn't make sense.
I remember what Ronald Reagan did in 1984. It was 1980 or 84. I can't remember which campaign. But he went to the South Bronx.
Oh, yes.
Where he said, I'll probably get no votes out of here, but I represent you as well. I represent everybody. And I do the same. I go all over Westchester County. I speak to every group. And I welcome, not only in my administration, we have the most diverse administration in the history of this county, more diverse than my predecessor. And I'm proud of that. I want qualified people. I don't care what your background is, as long as you're loyal to my principles and what I'm trying to accomplish, and you're qualified, you can work for me. And the same thing with our campaign. We've got Democrats, we have the endorsement of labor, we have the endorsement of very prominent Democrats. We have black ministers. The NAACP chairman in La Rochelle endorsed me. So I'm very proud of this. And that, I think, says that we're very inclusive, that what you're hearing from some of these people on the other side is not true.
I 100% agree with you on this. And I feel somehow I'm powerless in the sense that I can't do much, but I